This is how to install the Sena 60S in your motorcycle helmet. I've been using Senas since I did the cross-country ride, and that was on a SM10R or something, I think it was. They've developed a lot since then. It's all self-contained versus I think those old ones had like a separate battery pack that went on your helmet, maybe, if I remember right. But anyway, they've come a long way over the years. This is the latest one, the Sena 60S. And for this example, I'm going to be installing it in my Shoei X15 helmet, which has been used strictly for track, like Texas Mile and track days at Circuit of the Americas. I'm probably not going to be doing those events anymore, so I am going to use this for the road helmet now with the BMW GS Adventure I just bought. The first thing I'm going to do is take the shield off, just because it's one less thing to manage as you're flipping the helmet around and stuff. Pretty simple. If you've used helmets at all before, you make sure the red lever is up and you pull that little switch down, it releases it. The same on the other side. Put this up, pull it down, and release. Set that off to the side. Now, one thing you want to think about when you're starting to set up your helmet is what other electronics might you want on this, so that you think about the whole project as a plan. So I already know that I want to set up a chin mount and a GoPro with a microphone, just like I did on the last helmet. And you can see this helmet has the GoPro, the chin mount, and then there's the microphone requirements. I went through all that in a different video. You can check for that, but basically I'll want those items on this X15 as well. So I need to make sure that I'm considering those when I do the installation. In fact, some of the things, it might be easier to do the installation of both in one. So I'm going to try to focus on the Sena install in this video. I'm just making you aware that if you're going to do something like this, also think about those other microphones and whatever else you may add to your helmet later. All right, so if we open the new Sena 60S, some instructions. Looks like they have a nice QRG. It's all good to see that. I like pictures as opposed to 100 lines of text buried in legal warnings that I have to read. This is probably the speaker system. Put all this in a pile over here. I don't really expect that this is going to be that much different than some of the other installs I've done with Sena products. You have to make some of the same basic decisions as I did in the past. If you have a helmet where the whole face opens up like this and hinges up at the top, you almost need a boom microphone. I don't like those personally, so I don't use them. Mine are the normal full face, which means I can get by with these smaller low profile microphones, which I like a lot better. So I know I can use this, and I can put that off to the side. I won't need that. Here's the actual Sena device, and it has the two speakers on the wire, and it has a boom microphone as well. So I don't really know why there are two microphones included with it, but obviously I would like to get rid of this and just use my little low profile one. It's interesting, I don't remember having two sets of speakers to these things before though. Oh, this is, I guess, if you want to change the color on the outside, apparently you have those options. It's getting a little bit fancy, I don't really need that, black is fine. A charging cord for a USB-C. I assume that goes in the actual device somewhere. And then you have a USB normal on the other end of it. And you have a bunch of foam that I'm not sure what those go to. So we'll leave those sit in here for now as well. And we'll be crazy and just actually use the instructions instead of ignoring them and starting to put stuff in place. It does say push upward to remove the main unit. Ah, okay. So this is how it comes out. And it is a pretty healthy magnet. So it looks like either this option or this option. I don't know why they have two at the moment. Both of them have speakers coming out the right side and a microphone on the left, so that's not it. Well, you only get one of these. I guess maybe what it's doing is offering you, if you have two helmets, maybe you can put a mount on each one of them so that you can use the device back and forth between multiple helmets. Maybe that's what their goal is. All right, so removal, basically pop it off. You push up and it comes off pretty easily. It's got a pretty strong magnet on it, but it comes off of there. I assume it goes on here the same way. So take this cover off and it would go on there as well. So both of the bases are there. These look pretty identical. Interesting though, it only has one of these microphones, but it has two booms. If you want to change the color of this piece, you push outward, and that's how that comes off. Just basically carefully put your fingernails in there and pry it off this way, and then you can put a fancy silver one on there or whatever you want. So I'll just put the existing one back in place because that's good enough for me. Snaps in place, good. You can see the center of the ring matches. So if you wanted the white one, you could do the white plate and the white ring, and it would look like that. So again, these are cosmetic details. I'm not going to worry too much about those. I just want to get the thing working. There's this little bracket right there. You pull that back and then you can pull out this for the speakers. Oops. So if for some reason you want to take those off, you have that option. Go ahead and put it back in place, and then you slide that outer collar back up as well. And it should click. Yeah. And it clicks. Okay. So that's how you would take those loose if for some reason you wanted to do that. These are different languages, same thing. That's all the same. Okay, so that showed us the bare minimum. Let's see if we have something in here that's more helpful. Nope. Okay, that's kind of surprising, to be honest, because Sena is usually pretty good about their documentation, but I don't see anything else that comes with it. All right, we're gonna have to kind of wing it then from this point. So the first thing I usually do is to mount the speakers. So within the helmet, let's go ahead and expose the speaker holes, which are, oh, it literally just pops out. So this is just a cover for the speaker hole down here that we use, that we're used to. I'm just not used to seeing a cover on it like this. So we'll remove those. Now we have our exposed speaker hole. We'll do that same thing on the other side. We'll pull out our cheek pad, pull that down and expose it, and we'll pull our other little chunk out of there that kind of snaps in place. It's got the tabs you can see around the outside edge, so they'll just pop out. All right, now I'm going to use the one without the boom mic because I don't want to use the boom mic, and I need to figure out how to attach my little microphone that I want to use on it. And this is where you would charge the device if you want to run the charger direct to here. Got the little Thunderbolt on it. It would have been nice to have, admittedly, a little bit more instructions, and I suppose they want you to go to an app or YouTube or something to watch it. If you Google Sena 60S instructions, get down Google, And then it goes through more detailed instructions. We're looking for installation. And I'm going to pull this up on my laptop and have it sitting here so it's a little bit easier to do this in film. Armed with the instructions I pulled off the interweb, now I know how to do this better. So the first thing it's talking about is actually mounting this unit onto the helmet. So one approach, as you can see, this is a big spring clip here. You could slip it in there and clamp it over and use that. That's one option. I don't know if I like that option for sure, to be honest, because sometimes I like running cables in along that little strip there. Maybe you could use it that way. I mean, it does, well, you know what? Maybe it does work that way. I'm going to use the stick-on approach instead, which is good because that way it shows you how to do it if that's what you choose as well. So the first thing it says is to push this button here, and that pops, and then push down, and that pops this off. And then you can take this and slide it up into the grooves, and it sticks. Okay? So that's how to get that. These are the adhesive points, so when we're ready to stick it on, we'll peel those off and that'll go up here. So we'll just leave it on for now till we figure out the rest of the stuff. Also says that when you do stick this on, you want to wait 24 hours. The first thing I'm going to do when I stick something on like that is I'm going to wash it with acetone. I'm just going to rinse the rag a little bit, clean it off just to make sure there's no oils or anything on there that's going to prevent this from sticking. However, I'm not going to put this on just yet because I'd like to start working. I prefer to get the things mounted inside first and kind of figure out where they go and how they're set up before sticking this on, especially in case I'm having trouble plugging a microphone or something into it. So I'm going to wait for that step. The two speakers here, you can see that one speaker is always going to be longer than the other. That's the far speaker. So the Senas are going to go on the left of the helmet. Okay, and part of that reason is, if you think about it, normally we have our throttle hand over here. Not all bikes have cruise control. So if you're holding the throttle, it gives you, your left hand is usually more free to do these other things like hit the buttons on your Sena. Or since you have two speaker wires, one is shorter, that'll be on the left, the same as your Sena, and the right one will snake around and go to the right side. The third wire coming off of this is going to be for the microphone, which in my case, I'm going to use this little one here for a cleaner install. So I'll plug that in here. Okay, and I feel it click. So now all my items that go inside the helmet are solid and we're ready to start installing. So I'm going to start with the speakers since they're usually a little bit more of a task getting them in there. And in your helmet, sometimes it's easier to take out the top piece of the foam. Don't necessarily have to. Sometimes you can just tuck the wires back in there. These are the places we want to get at. That's where we want to be installing our speakers on each side. So we're going to have this. We're going to take our short cable, which will be the near speaker, and we'll want that one in there. But before we do that, we need to put, this has a very kind of fine Velcro-ish type feel to it. And you can do different things with them. You can use, like, these are just a little pad that sticks in, and then that felty material here is what sticks to that speaker and puts it in place. If you for some reason want a thicker, in other words, if you want the speaker closer to your ear, you can use the thicker one. So then you put, either way, these have to go down first in the hole, and then you can either go directly to the speaker, or you can put the spacer in first and then the speaker. I generally don't use these, which does put a bit more distance between the speaker and my ears, but that's just what I've grown to do over the years. My ears already kind of get tied up in the foam and pushed in each direction, so I try to keep pressure off my ears, even if it means you can't hear this quite as good. So let's go ahead and put this in here. Again, the first thing I'm going to do is wipe down each of the speaker areas with just a little bit of acetone, just to make sure there's no oils or mold release from the plastic that might interfere with the adhesion. And I'm trying to keep all the acetone off of the foam because I don't want my helmet to smell like it. After giving it a couple minutes to vape off, just try to center it in that divot. And now you have the felty surface that the speaker will just stick to. And you can see on this helmet, there is a little spot, this tab over right there. And so that's an area where you might want to use your speaker wires to route out of there. Okay, we'll put the other side down. You obviously don't want to touch any more than you have to. And I realize this can be kind of awkward in here, but there we go. Okay. And each of those are in place. Okay. Now, we'll go back to the left side, and we'll take our left speaker, and we'll put it where the wires are going out that little tab, and we'll stick it right centered in there. So you want to stick it down and don't push it so hard you damage the speaker, but you can see that I routed those wires coming out the side there, but it's perfectly centered in there. So now we have one speaker in place. Now, to route the other speaker around the other side, you'll want to look back here at your foam assembly, because it might make sense that you want to route it under any features. You know, there can be like, there's a feature here that I'm going to choose. It's part of the plastic that connects the upper and lower pieces. I'm just going to run it under those two and then around like that. And then I can bring it around here to the earpiece, and I'm going to again put the speaker wires in that little spot. Try to center this as best I can. And there it is, it's going through there. I put it through and under that piece that's part of the foam liner. Now this piece, the microphone, I'm not as concerned with. We're just going to bring that around on the left side and put it near the front. Now, this particular helmet has this feature right here and here is for a hydration tube. So I don't want to put it all the way up front. I'm going to bring the microphone to just one side of it. And I guess, let's see, it'll be on the left. So I'll bring it over to the left side of it and then tuck it back in. But I want to get the, I think now is probably as good a time as any to actually adhere the device to the outside. So I'm going to put it out here somewhere and then start tucking wires. I basically want it to the back. I want to make sure that I'm not infringing on my shield. So I'm going to put this on quick. All right, now if I pull this down, it goes up. So I just want to make sure that this is out here somewhere in the clear. These things usually have kind of slide in and out. You can see you just pull on that. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll cut one of these to bring the cable up to here. So maybe what I'll do is mount it like, I guess I need to put the actual device on it, back as far as I can for maximum clearance and as low as I can. It looks like it fits okay. And then I can stick it in through one of those. So let me pull this up. Again, I'm going to get out the acetone. I'm going to clean the area where I'm going to be adhering it to. Clean that area so there's no oil or anything on it. And then another good thing to do if you have the option is to just heat up both the adhesive and the surface if you can, like this. By heating up both surfaces, what it does is it just gives a nice warm surface for that adhesive to bond to. It's especially if it's, you know, cool because you have it AC'd or you're in a cooler environment. I'm going to pull the adhesive off, or the backer. And you want to just press on it really good. And put this guy in again and make sure that it's clears. Yep, we're good there. Okay, I'm going to take that back off. So this is on guten tight, as the Germans would say. And now we want to route the cables through the helmet to get over here. So the next thing I'm going to do is locate this microphone. And that way I can tuck everything in kind of at once. We have another piece that's very similar. This is done as the speaker type, except it's for the microphone. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just touch at the area with some acetone right down the bottom of the helmet, kind of there, but we're still stick on the little felt pad. And I'm going to put it pretty low down here because I feel like that will keep, you know, there's maybe that spoiler right here will keep the wind noise going around, and it'll be kind of safer there from wind noise. And I'll just place this right there. Okay. And these little microphones really do work well. All right, so you can see where the microphone ended up right up there. And hopefully that's in a comfortable place where it's not too intrusive to the chin or mouth or anything, but generally these little low profile ones that Sena come with are pretty good. In fact, they're a really good microphone. If you saw the video I did on the different microphones for riding, this was actually the one that I chose for using on my vlogging. All right, so now everything is in place. Now we can sort of wrap this around. And again, what I'm going to do here is I want these cables to come through one particular spot here. So I'm going to take a razor and cut that so that it can feed through there okay. All right, I found a razor and I cut that little slit right there. And I'm going to just run those cables through there with a little bit of give and then press this back in. This should go around some kind of a feature. Oh yeah, here, there's a snap deal in there you want to go into and press the little pieces back in. And now it's contained and happy. Okay, now we want to make sure that we have the cables inside contained. So you basically what you're trying to do is kind of capture some of these speakers in between the snaps here, inside the snaps like this, kind of tie them together. if you want, or just kind of capture them and snap them in there, because you shouldn't be taking your cheek pads out super often, but just kind of bundle them in there, make sure they're not catching anything, and then put your cheek pad back down. If you were seeing through the foam, your cables would be running right here underneath that snap, and kind of same thing over here. They'd be running underneath that one, captured by that snap as well. Now we just have that rear wire to capture that goes over to the other side. And thread your chin strap through here. Snap this cheek pad back in place. Okay, now that's set. Then you're just taking all the extra cable, kind of stuffing it up and behind the supports of the foam. Go back here, make sure they're tucked out of the way, and then bring your foam piece down so it hides this. All right, now you see your speaker hiding behind the cheek pad. The cables go behind that foam piece and around, and everything comes out nice and clean through that slit by the slot and into the actual device. So now you've got your speakers and your microphone. Put on your device, put back on your screen. Now everything is installed in the helmet. You've got your two speakers, your microphone, your actual device. So you're ready to charge the device and start using it. If you haven't done so, please click the link below to subscribe, click the little bell for notifications, and let's live for today.